And that's how to Train Your Dragon begins. A story about a Viking boy named Hiccup who is trying to find his way. Only he is not at all like all the other people in his tribe. He's small, he's weak, he's thoughtful, and he's very apt and creative. Very un-Viking-like behavior. And he struggles to find his place. His struggle is sort of the main protagonist story of the whole film. He is an outsider in so many ways. And in a world where your definition is defined by your ability to fight the enemy, dragons, and kill dragons, Hiccup was a nobody. Often he would try to compensate for his differences by using his creative, good at making things skills to create and develop different technologies to try to help in the battle. But most of the time, his contraptions ended up failing miserably, and he caused more trouble than good. Hiccup was a huge disappointment to the village, the tribe leader, his dad. But then, if you've seen the film already, one day he finds success. In the middle of another one of those dragon attack, he uses one of his contraptions. Just after the scene, he pulls it out, and he uses it to focus in on a night fury that was coming in, bearing down on the tribe. And he actually hits it by throwing some huge catapulting thing with rocks at the night fury and takes that dragon down. But nobody, because he's Hiccup, believes them. What good could ever come out of a character like Hiccup? But Hiccup is determined to find that dragon that he downed. And so while all the other Vikings are preparing for yet another battle when they were going to go out in their boats and destroy the dragon nest, Hiccup heads out on a journey of his own to try and find that dragon, and surprising to him, he actually does.
Oh, wow. I did it. Oh, I did it. This fixes everything. Yes! I have brought down this mighty beast.
Mortal enemy that he was just facing, whose eye he was looking into. Them. Evil, destructive, other them. And yet, in that moment, that first beginning turning point, a whole new way of dealing with them began. And dragon-Viking enmity started to fall away. In that moment, the dividing wall of hostility between those two tribes started to come down. Eye contact led to empathy, and empathy led to compassion, and compassion led to understanding, and understanding led to mercy. And a whole new way was born. A whole new relational realm began, which is what the story that we all live into, our life and faith story as Christians, is all about, right? Ephesians chapter 2 says, "For he, Jesus himself, is our peace, who has made the two one and destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility, by setting aside in his flesh the law with its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the two, thus making peace, and in one body to reconcile both of them to God through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility. He came and preached peace to you who were far off, and peace to you who were near," whatever tribe you were a part of. For through him we both have access to the Father by one Spirit. Consequently, you are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people, and also members of his household, built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, with Christ Jesus himself as the chief cornerstone. In him, the whole building is joined together and rises to become a holy temple in the Lord. And in him, you too are being built together to become a dwelling in which God lives by his Spirit. Which is sort of what Hiccup did in the story, in the movie, is doing. Through his willingness to bridge hostility, he was able to begin a journey that enabled others to also do the same. And it took all kinds of time and hard work for that to happen. Because enemy stereotypes build big walls of hostility. A dragon will always go for the kill, said the one trainer, Cobber, to his students in the movie. We Jews are the chosen tribe, God's people. Those Gentiles are not. And yeah, okay, maybe God is working in their life now, but they're not the same as us. We're God's covenant people. We're the in tribe. They are not. That was the issue that the Apostle Paul was writing to in that quote from Ephesians. People of other faiths have absolutely no idea who God really is. Their faith has to be of the devil, 100%. That person at work, total loser. They are trouble. Stay away from them. Hang around with this tribe, much cooler. Better place to be. Avoid them at all costs. Or over this past couple of weeks south of the border, all Democrats are spineless socialist fools, and Republicans are gun-toting, violent fundamentalists. We create camps and tribes, and then we build up the stereotype so that we can be more righteous in terms of who we are. And yet, that night fury in that clip didn't kill Hiccup. There is something about being the recipient of grace that then allows you to more freely dispense grace to others. And remember, if you know this story, that God does not show favoritism to one tribe over the other. He didn't hold your enemy status against you when you had or have, and we still do, and this week will turn your back to God instead of your face and ignore God and act as though God isn't even existing or part of your life. He doesn't fall into camp mentality and make you a them and kick you out of the tribe or not include you. While we were still messing up and sinning, He came to us. While we were still the enemy, He came to you and cut your ropes. And kind of stepping back from the film, even though Hiccup was intending to do evil in that moment of wielding that knife, but even before, when he shot down that dragon, even though he wanted to be hostile in what he was doing, some mysterious narrative force was at work in that story, taking his motives and working them for good. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives, including Vikings and dragons. This is how we as a community are called to be. Jesus again and again said, love your enemies. Love them as you love yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you if you were in their circumstance. Take the terrifying risk of being a reconciler, of being a redeemer. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the two. One people out of the 150. One people out of the 6 billion people, 7 billion people that inhabit this planet. And for your part and my part, it is incredibly tough to live into that picture, that vision, because if you're like me, human. I cannot make up with my enemy. I just can't reconcile with her or with him. And so I won't do it. I won't. I will never. If I try to reach out my hand to them, they are going to bite it off. And this is going to be worse than it already is. We may as well just leave things the way they are. They could never change. It's just too risky. And it is. Just look at what Jesus did to bring reconciliation. The suffering that came with his new way. The power that came through his introduction of a whole new realm. You are called to do no less than that if you really believe what you say you believe or want to believe what you say you believe. We're called to take up our cross and to follow him and to pay whatever the cost. That is what one famous author, Scott Peck, called a road less traveled.